So today I'm going to share a little bit about how to use the pineapple trim tool to make perfect pineapple blocks. You only need 3 different things to begin. You need center squares, and it's really important that these are cut exactly to size. And then you need light strips and medium or dark strips. And then finally you're going to need strips that are wider that you'll use only in your final round of strips. Just before we get started, you'll notice there are several different squares on the pineapple trim tool ruler, and we'll be using these as we trim throughout the various phases. And there's also a 45-degree angle trim line, and that also gets used in at least 2 different places for the 8-inch block. So you're going to begin by sewing 4 light colored strips to your center square. And it doesn't really matter which order that you sew them in, and it also doesn't matter that they're perfectly aligned at the edges. Your first trimming is you're going to use the centering square round 1, and you can see I've already trimmed this one, but what I did was I lined up this square with my center square and cut with the angle. It leaves you a seam allowance so that your points won't get cut off when you're done. And after you've trimmed all 4 sides, you just turn the block each time. And so then you would trim this, and you trim 4 different times. Then it's time to start sewing on your print strips. And so I sewed a green and a blue on either side in the coral and the red, and now it's time to trim again. And this time we're going to use the centering square round 2, and sometimes you have to look all over the ruler. They switch sides, and so anyway, you would line up that for round 2 and you would trim. And I've got one that's already been trimmed on all 4 sides, and I've started sewing the next round of light strips. And you just really continue in this way until you have the size block that you're going to make. The ruler will actually make 6-inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch blocks, so you have a choice of sizes. Now when you get all the way to your last step, that's when you're going to use the wide strips. And those are the only place they're used. The rest of the block uses the more narrow strips. And your final block will look like that. So that's one other thing to note, is that you do have 2 print pieces of fabric next to each other in that last step, and that's the only place where that happens. But it's a great tool, and it helps you make perfectly sized pineapple blocks.